Have you ever wondered why you wake up in the morning already feeling behind, even before the day begins? It's not because you're lazy, it's because your mind has been trained to seek comfort instead of control. Every time you choose the pillow over your purpose, the comfort over commitment, you're teaching your brain to surrender. And the scary part, the more you surrender, the quieter your potential becomes. But there's a moment, a very small moment, right after you open your eyes, where you still have power. If you win that moment, you win the day, and if you win enough days, you win your life. Motivation is a beautiful illusion. It feels powerful when it's there, that surge of energy, that clarity, that fire that pushes you forward. But have you noticed how quickly it disappears? One day you wake up ready to conquer everything, and the next, that same fire is gone. You start questioning yourself, thinking something is wrong with you, but nothing is wrong. The problem is that you've been relying on a temporary feeling to build something permanent. Motivation is emotional fuel, but emotions are unstable. They shift with the weather, the mood, and the noise of the world. One small inconvenience, a bad night's sleep, an argument, a moment of doubt, and that spark fades. If you depend on motivation to take action, then your progress will always be inconsistent, because your emotions are inconsistent. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't care about how you feel. It doesn't wait for the perfect moment or the right mood. Discipline is quiet. It's not dramatic or inspiring. It simply does what needs to be done, even when every part of you resists it. And that's what makes it so powerful. Discipline is not built on emotion, it's built on decision. It's the act of choosing purpose over comfort every single time. When you remove motivation from the equation, you remove dependency. You stop waiting for energy to come to you, and instead, you create momentum through action. That's the secret. Movement creates motivation, not the other way around. You take one small step, and suddenly the mind begins to awaken. You do the thing you didn't feel like doing, and afterward, you feel strong, focused, and alive. That feeling wasn't given to you by motivation. You earned it through action, so the next time you say, "I don't feel like it," remember that feelings are not commands, they are just suggestions. You are not your emotions, you are the one who decides what to do with them. The moment you understand this, you become free from their control. Don't chase the fleeting energy of motivation. Build the unshakable foundation of discipline. Because when motivation disappears, and it always will, discipline is what remains to carry you forward. The first action of your day carries more weight than most people realize. It is not just a movement of the body, it's a signal to the mind. The moment you act, you tell yourself, "I am in control." And that simple act, that small decision to move when the body resists, sets the tone for everything that follows. Most people wait to feel ready before they begin, but readiness is an illusion. If you keep waiting for the perfect mindset, the perfect mood, or the perfect conditions, you will never move. The moment of readiness never arrives. You create it by taking the first step. The human mind works like a river. It flows in the direction of least resistance. That's why the hardest part of your morning is not the workout, not the work itself, not the tasks ahead. It's standing up, breaking the stillness, overcoming the invisible gravity of hesitation. Once you do, something shifts inside you. The mind follows the body. When you move, focus appears. When you act, clarity emerges. Action is the bridge between confusion and confidence. Think about how many days have been lost simply because of that first moment of hesitation. You wake up and you give your energy to the smallest argument with your thoughts. 5 more minutes, I'll start later, maybe tomorrow. That dialogue kills potential before the day even begins. The power is not in the grand gesture or the big accomplishment. It's in the ability to move before the mind begins to negotiate. When you make your first action automatic, something you do no matter how you feel, you begin to rewire your internal system. You train your subconscious to understand that action is non-negotiable. Over time, this becomes who you are. You no longer think about it, you simply do. That's when you realize that discipline is not restriction, it's freedom. Because every time you choose to act, you take your power back from laziness, distraction, and doubt. The first action of your morning is not just a start, it's a declaration. It says, today, I choose control over chaos. And if you can win that moment, you can win the day. Most people confuse routine with discipline. They repeat the same actions every morning, but their mind isn't present. They move through patterns, wake up, check the phone, drink coffee, rush out the door, and call it routine. But a routine without awareness is nothing more than mechanical repetition. It keeps the body busy, but the mind remains asleep. The real transformation begins when you turn those routines into rituals, when every action, no matter how small, is performed with intention. A ritual carries meaning. It's a conscious act of alignment between your mind and your purpose. When you wake up and take a moment to breathe deeply, to set your posture, to reflect on your direction, that is not just preparation. That is self-command. It's a way of telling your mind, I am not reacting to the day, I am creating it. This subtle difference changes everything, because when you treat your morning as sacred time, you stop moving through life unconsciously. You begin to lead yourself instead of being led by circumstances. The world around you is built to distract, to scatter your focus before you've even started, but a ritual anchors you. It becomes a space where you return to yourself, whether it's training, meditation, journaling, or simply sitting in silence. It doesn't matter. What matters is consistency and presence. The more you repeat this with awareness, the stronger your internal order becomes. You're not just building a habit, you're constructing identity. When you honor your morning ritual, you start your day with direction instead of disorder. You remind yourself that your life is not a random sequence of reactions, but a deliberate process of creation. And this awareness spills into everything you do, how you speak, how you work, how you treat others. It brings a calm authority to your presence because you've already proven to yourself, before the day even begins, that you are capable of control. So don't rush through your mornings as if they are meaningless. They are not. They are the foundation of your discipline. Treat them as sacred, because the way you begin your day is the way you train your mind to live your life, either as a reaction or as a ritual. Every morning, the moment you decide to move, you will meet friction. That quiet resistance that whispers, stay a little longer in bed. You can do it later. It doesn't matter if you skip today. Most people mistake that voice for weakness, but it's not weakness. It's the natural force that guards every threshold of growth. Friction is not your enemy. It's the teacher that asks, how much do you truly want this? Every meaningful transformation begins with discomfort. The body resists movement because it seeks energy conservation. The mind resists change because it seeks familiarity. Together, they form a wall, a barrier between who you are and who you could be. And most people stop at that wall. They retreat, convincing themselves that the discomfort is a sign to pause. But in reality, it's a sign that you're standing at the edge of progress. When you start to embrace friction instead of avoiding it, your relationship with discomfort changes. You stop seeing it as punishment and start recognizing it as proof that you are evolving. Discipline is born in this tension. Every time you act despite the resistance, you expand your threshold for challenge. You begin to realize that the pain of discipline is far lighter than the weight of regret. What's interesting is that the more you face discomfort, the less power it holds over you. Like a muscle, your tolerance grows. You become calm in the storm, composed in chaos. That's why those who live with discipline seem unshaken. It's not that their life is easier, it's that their mind is stronger. They've built resilience through repeated exposure to friction. So the next time you feel resistance, when the alarm rings, when your mind says, "Not today," when your body seeks comfort, pause for a second. Don't fight it, don't flee from it, just recognize it. Smile at it, because that resistance is a sign that you're exactly where you need to be. Growth and comfort will never coexist. One must always give way to the other, so choose friction. It's the fire that forges your strength. Every morning begins not with movement, but with dialogue, the quiet conversation that takes place inside your own mind. Before you open your eyes, before you take your first step, a voice starts to speak. Sometimes it encourages you, "Let's go, let's move." But often it whispers the opposite. "You're tired, you've earned more rest, one day off won't matter." That voice sounds gentle, reasonable, even protective. But that is how resistance disguises itself, not as an enemy, but as comfort. The truth is, the mind is not unified. It contains many voices, the one driven by purpose, and the one ruled by fear and laziness. Most people live their lives obeying the wrong one simply because it speaks with more emotion. The voice of discipline is quiet, almost detached. It doesn't argue, it doesn't beg, it simply says, "Do what must be done." To master yourself, you must learn to recognize which voice deserves your trust. The moment you wake up and begin negotiating with your thoughts, you lose power. The longer you entertain excuses, the stronger they become. But when you move without debate, when you silence the chatter through immediate action, the mind follows your command. That is self-mastery in its purest form, action leading thought, not thought leading action. Understanding this changes how you see yourself. You realize you are not your emotions, not your impulses, not even your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. You are the one who observes and decides which to follow. This separation between you and your inner noise is the foundation of true control. It's what allows you to rise above hesitation, procrastination, and doubt. Each time you silence the weaker voice and act from strength, you reinforce your identity as someone in command of their inner world. Over time, that authority grows. You stop being at the mercy of moods or circumstances. You become stable, unshaken, grounded. So the next time your mind begins its morning argument, remember this: not every voice deserves your attention. Listen closely, but choose wisely, because the voice you obey each morning doesn't just shape your day, it shapes who you become. Many people think discipline is a form of restriction, a cage built by rules and routines that limits freedom. But that is a misunderstanding born from living too long under the influence of comfort. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect expressed through action. It is the recognition that your future deserves effort, that your potential deserves consistency. When you hold yourself accountable, you are not being harsh. You are honoring the value of your own life. When you commit to discipline, you're making a promise to yourself: I will not abandon my goals, no matter how I feel. That promise becomes a bond, a sacred agreement between the person you are now and the person you want to become. Every time you keep that promise, even in small ways, you strengthen trust in yourself, and that trust becomes power. It's not about perfection, it's about integrity. To live with discipline is to live with alignment, where what you say, what you believe, and what you do all move in the same direction. Look around and you'll see how easily people betray themselves. They speak of dreams but never act. They promise change but keep repeating the same habits. That gap between intention and action is where suffering lives. Discipline closes that gap. It turns aspiration into embodiment. It takes something abstract, like I want to improve, and grounds it in action, day after day, even when no one is watching. Discipline is also an act of love, because love without discipline becomes dependency, and ambition without discipline becomes fantasy. When you discipline yourself, you are saying, I care about my future enough to protect it from my present impulses. That level of self-respect creates inner peace, because there's no conflict between what you want and what you do. In the end, discipline is not about control, it's about liberation. It frees you from the chaos of inconsistency, from the mood swings of motivation, from the weight of regret. It's what allows you to walk through life with quiet confidence, knowing you are capable of keeping your own word. When you honor discipline, you honor yourself, and that, more than any external success, is the highest form of freedom.